I live in a place where it's always winter. The snow never stops falling, and the wind keeps changing the shape of everything. Imagine days where sunshine is rare and the clouds are always full of snowflakes that on calmer days gently float down and on wilder days shoot out like bullets. That was the normal weather of the area I live in. My name is Eric, and I have a small house in the woods where it's always quiet except for the sound of the snow. I work at a place in town where we make things out of metal. I use a hammer and work with fire, and that's honestly the warmest part of the day since the rest would be filled with cold. I'm sure you know how it goes. For numerous hours, I would work on making tools of various sizes that would be used by the community. When it starts to get dark, I put on multiple layers of warm clothing and head for home. I use the light from the moon and my lantern to see. But it wouldn't take me long to realize neither the moon nor the lantern would help me see where I was going on this very night. Without warning, the snow was coming down really hard, and I couldn't tell what direction I was walking in. It already took me more than an hour to get home, so this storm was likely going to make me take hours to get back. But as I stumbled my way forward, fighting against the wrestling wind and pelting snowflakes, something strange happened. The storm was so strong that I couldn't see much. But then, in the far-off distance in front of me, I saw something huge. It was big and furry, moving through the snow with slight ease. It was shaped like a lengthy polar bear standing on two legs, but was greatly disfigured. Its movements were slow, ragged, unnatural, and the way it navigated through the storm made it clear that the storm had no real effect on it. I couldn't tell where it was going, or if I was even seeing properly, because again, the storm was costing me my vision and threatening to blow me away. My skin was freezing at a rapid rate, and I was feeling numbness spread throughout my body like a poison. I figured in my current state of mind, I was likely hallucinating. But then, suddenly, the figure stopped and turned to look in some direction that was likely towards me. I mean, I could feel something with piercing eyes staring at me with a look of intensity. The creature tilted its head back and roared so loud that I felt it in the ground. I don't even think I can really begin to describe just what it was that I heard. I just know I was so scared that I couldn't move for a moment. But that could have been the numbness. I shook my legs and forced them to move, and I ran as fast as I could through the storm. I didn't know if the big thing was chasing me, but I kept running. As I ran, my breathing became more ragged and worn, and I felt extreme exhaustion and stress. I finally somehow managed to get home and close the door really fast. I was safe inside, hopefully anyways, but I was still shaking because I was so scared. Although, again, that could have been because of the snow and wind. I tracked in a huge amount of snow that had stuck to me like glue. The next day, I frantically told people about what I saw, but not many people believed me. They thought it was just a story I'd made up, or some illusion I thought I saw that wasn't real. But one person actually believed me, or just made it seem that way. They said there's an old story about a creature called the Frost Walker. It's made of snow and ice and wanders around whenever the weather conditions are perfect. A perfect amount of ice, snow, and wind. I'm not sure I believe that's the monster I saw, but I do know that I certainly didn't make it up, no matter what anyone says. I know I saw the creature, and I won't ever forget. Now, whenever it snows a lot, I think about that encounter and the scary noises it made. Although, strangely, my area never got that kind of snow again. We've had many that have happened after my encounter, but none were as fierce and powerful. It's a story I'll always remember, especially on these cold, snowy nights that are always common in my town. It was a regular evening after work, and I was in my room, feeling happy and calm. I also remember feeling fatigued because work had been a little stressful, although that was typical for me. I just finished reading a book and was about to turn off the light when a loud bang made me jump. It was the sound of my front door being thrown open with force. And when I say force, I mean immense force, like something you'd expect from a monster. My heart started to beat fast, and I felt terrified. A million thoughts raced through my mind, but I couldn't process any of them, and all I knew was that they were not positive. Then came another noise, the sound of glass shattering and falling to the floor. It was coming from downstairs. I knew right away that someone or something had entered my house without permission, and I was afraid they might be there to do something bad. Did I say might? No, they were here to do something bad. To make things worse, I had nothing to defend myself with, and my phone wasn't with me since I'd been trying to use less technology throughout the week. I got up from my bed as quietly as I could and tiptoed to my bedroom door. I gently pushed it closed, hoping the person wouldn't hear it. I knew it wouldn't keep them out for long, but it gave me a little bit of time and temporary peace of mind. I looked around for a place to hide, feeling anxiety like never before, and decided on my closet. It was big and full of clothes that I could hide behind, although it might seem like an obvious spot to whoever had broken in. I went inside and sat down on the floor, pulling the clothes around me so I couldn't be seen. From a small gap, I could see into my room, and I was feeling a staggering amount of apprehension. I had left my phone in the bathroom because I didn't want any distractions. Now, I wished I had it with me to call the police. Without any guarantee that someone would come to my rescue, I either had to stay hiding, give in to the demands of the person, or fight back, and neither option made me feel better about my situation. It was fly or fall. There were no other choices. I felt alone and very frightened. Silent, slow footsteps were coming up the stairs. They were heavy, but quiet at the same time, perhaps a sign that the person was experienced. I could tell they were taking their time, searching each room carefully and efficiently. They likely knew that they couldn't afford anyone in the house to live, or else they'd be caught. Finally, they came into my room. It was a person wearing a dark hood and carrying a very used-looking wooden bat. There were all kinds of ominous stains concentrated on the end of it, revealing the long and dark history of its use. I hoped I wouldn't contribute to its horrendous look. They moved around, looking under the bed and behind the curtains. They were so close to me, and I tried hard not to make a single sound. I held my breath, hoping that somehow I could force myself to stop breathing for at least 10 minutes. The person stopped and turned towards the closet. It seems they didn't really notice it before and were determined to investigate it. My heart was beating so loudly I was sure they could hear it. They took a step closer and then another. Just as they reached out to open the closet door, police sirens filled the air outside. I almost cried out in relief, but I quickly remembered the urgency of the situation. The timing was perfect. The person in the hood stopped. It seemed like they were calculating the chance that they could fight off the police after taking a little bit more time to search around. They looked around the room quickly, then ran out as fast as they could. I stayed in the closet, not moving, not making a sound, until I was sure they were gone. The police came into my room a few minutes later. They told me my neighbor had seen the person break into my house and called them. The police had arrived quickly, but the person had escaped. Figures. That night changed everything for me. I couldn't stop thinking about the person with the hood and the wooden bat. They hadn't stolen anything. So that could have meant they were looking for a person. For me. But that couldn't be right. It just couldn't. I was way more careful after that, always making sure my doors were locked and my phone was with me. But I always felt a little bit scared, especially when I heard loud noises. The memory of that night stayed with me, reminding me to always be aware of my surroundings, even if it's my own home. If that person had broken in looking for me, it's likely that they'd be back with that horrible bat they were carrying. I never thought a simple errand could turn into a nightmare. It had been just another mundane Monday when Miss Jenkins, my history teacher, suddenly handed me an ancient-looking book to return to the library. I didn't want to return the book, but Miss Jenkins is a strict teacher who will hold a long-lasting grudge against you for any little thing, and I didn't feel like getting on her bad side. Not to mention, I was a little kid then, and during that time, teachers' words were just as strong as a parent's. That means it was law. The library was on the other side of the school, which meant I had to pass through the old wing. A place every child, teacher, every person whispered about, but never dared to explore. It was this creepy area where all sorts of rumors about ghosts and missing kids were made. Honestly, it freaked me out so much I never went through there. And most other kids avoided it too, even the teachers. There was this dark energy there, as though something evil was constantly lurking, waiting for a poor person to be the next victim. The hallway was dimly lit, with each bulb flickering like a candle struggling against the wind. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and old paper. As I walked, the silence was so heavy I could hear my own heartbeat. I clutched the book tightly, trying to shake off the feeling that I wasn't alone. I would have asked someone else to come with me, but I knew no one would have wanted to. They abandoned me, written me off as another rumor that would be spread. These thoughts terrified me as they crossed my mind. But the faster I did this, the better. Then I heard it. a low growl that seemed to come from the shadows. I froze, my eyes scanning the darkness. It sounded like an animal. Honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if a bear suddenly came crawling out of the darkness. Slowly, a hulking figure with fur as black as the void it emerged from came out from hiding, a couple classrooms away from me. I looked at it and instantly thought of werewolves, but this thing was unbelievably huge, especially to a small child like me, so I knew it just had to be something more. Some of its features seemed humanoid, but the proportions were so out of place, and it was very rapid and wild looking. Its eyes glowed a fierce yellow, and its breath came out in ragged snarls as it crept down the hallway and into a classroom. It didn't seem to have noticed me, although my trembling was pretty obvious. Panic seized me. I dropped the book and ran as fast as humanly possible back to Miss Jenkins. In that moment, nothing I was doing mattered anymore. I swore to myself I would never go down the hallway again. Out of breath, I blurted out what I'd seen to her and my other classmates, who didn't laugh at me because my horrified expression looked incredibly genuine. She gave me a skeptical look, but agreed to investigate. She wanted me to come along, just in case I was trying to prank her, and so I reluctantly agreed. But if it attacked, I couldn't guarantee I wouldn't abandon her. We returned to the old wing, our steps echoing in the empty space. The classroom was completely empty of all things paranormal. There were desks in rows, a blank chalkboard, but no sign of the monster. Miss Jenkins sighed, a mix of relief and annoyance on her face. It had to have been your imagination, she said. I knew that she didn't believe in that suggestion. I know what I saw. And as we left, I couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere in the shadows, the creature was watching. This was the only creature and paranormal encounter I've had in that school. And honestly, everyone there knows that something's not right, especially the teachers. But the school keeps going, and no one on the outside will believe anything we say. To think, even now, there's evil brewing in that school, snatching both students and teachers alike. I'll never return there again. Hope you enjoyed that story, and I'll see you in the next one. See you on the flip side.